Everybody who's tuning in now, we're live. All right. I believe we are officially live here. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Sorry about the minute wait. Was just getting everything set up. We're going to be talking about the PFL today. Full card predictions. It's a pretty good card, actually. PFL definitely has some solid talent in store for us. The women's divisions, there's some interesting fights, to say the least. Some odd matchups. Some fighters that don't seem to be extremely world-class caliber, but there are fights here, and we're going to go through it. Before we do, I do need to mention something. UFC just recently added Alex Morono versus Cowboy Cerrone, so tomorrow I will be doing that prediction. As of right now, the card is still the same as what it is. They haven't switched it up just yet. But if they do, obviously we'll do another full card prediction. But as of now, if you need the UFC full card predictions, you know where to find them. They are in the channel. We did a live stream last night for them. It was a lot of fun. Cowboy Morono is now a new fight on the card. So we'll go through it. We're going to start here with this PFL event. Make sure you guys smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Go for this video here for the PFL. I'm looking for 100 likes again, looking for a triple digit. I do believe we can pull it off here. Going through this whole card, we'll start it off with the first fight of the night. Down at the bottom here, women's bout. Helena Kolesnyk versus Taylor Guardado. So with Taylor Guardado, I do want to bring up one thing. She took a long layoff. She actually fought Ronda Rousey as an amateur fighter in, I believe, 2011. So early on in her career. Helena, coming off a loss over 2 years ago against Felicia Spencer. Her opponent lost her pro debut to Tanisha Tennant. If you remember Tennant, she did fight Danielle Wolf on Dana White's Contender Series. It's interesting to see the 0-1 Taylor as a favorite early on. I will bring up best fight odds because I do want to make sure we get the most accurate odds, because you know sometimes those odds are slightly skewed because they don't update them every hour by the hour. But yeah, it seems like Taylor is still a favorite here at minus 140. I feel like it's kind of hard to sell someone on a bet of a 0-1 fighter, at least for me personally, from what I gathered from film study with these fighters here. For Taylor, she's a forward pressure, plotting style of fighter, has a very square stance and likes to throw a lot of power in her punches. Definitely a boxing heavy attack, and she does bring in a pretty good amateur background, 9-1 as an amateur. But the activity has not been there. I mean, you look, she fought a year ago in some exhibition matches over an Invicta, and then 9 years ago. So, I mean, 8 years off, then comes back. Granted, she's a lot older now. Does she have the tools against Helena here, who's a southpaw, aggressive striker with also a boxing heavy attack and also has some solid takedown defense? Matchup-wise, I could see this fight going the distance. I think it really does here. I slightly edge Helena to win this one. She's taller by 2 inches. I think she's the naturally slightly bigger girl. More activity. I think Helena on a decision. Don't love a bet for either girl, but definitely would be hard to put down money on an 0-1 favorite as a professional, even if she has a great amateur background early on in her career. That's a long time ago. I like the dog in this fight, Helena Kolesnyk. Good way to start off the card, though, with some interesting, I wouldn't say low-level women's MMA because it is the lightweight division, which is just not a stacked weight class, but some interesting women's MMA to start it off. Now, this next fight, Denis Goltsov and Justin Willis. I'm going to double check. Is this the bout order that Tapology has listed? I don't know if this will actually be on the prelims, because who knows what the end result of bout order is going to be. But as of right now, Justin Willis, Denis Goltsov slated for the second fight of the night. If you look back, I mean, Justin Willis was a pretty respected heavyweight in the UFC. I think he had some momentum going his way. A lot of people felt he had some potential to move forward in that division. Unfortunately, contractual issues and whatnot got him released by the UFC. But he finds his new home at PFL, and he's taking on Denis Goltsov, who last time out was in the finals. Is a very difficult test for him with Goltsov. Let's talk about him further. A very good kickboxer. rangy striker. I mean, he's 6'5", very tall, well-rounded skill set though. You look at the way that he wins fights: 5 decisions, 10 knockouts, 10 submissions. He can kind of do it all with Justin Willis. You got a southpaw with pretty long reach and also pretty solid wrestling skills. Also does have a bit of power in his punches. I mean, Goltsov, 3 losses by knockout, 3 by submission. You look at Willis, he's not the heaviest puncher, but he does have power. He's a big boy. He weighs in, at that 266 limit. He's not super tall at 6'1". That reach is incorrect. It's not 82, it's 78. So the reach is identical, even though he's 4 inches shorter. I think we're going to see Willis look to wrestle a lot here. And at plus money, I like Justin Willis. I don't think we can sleep on Willis. Goltsov, recent fight that I was not super impressed by. He's at plus 175 now, Willis. So the odds are definitely going to start getting closer as the week goes on. I think a lot of people like Willis. I feel like Goltsov versus Satoshi Ishii. Close enough fight. I think Willis is definitely a level above that. I think Justin Willis goes out there and gets a unanimous decision win here, and I think he wins his PFL debut here. And I do think he can look pretty decent doing it. Don't know about this being the most entertaining fight of the night, but I think a win for Justin Willis is definitely realistic in this one here. Let's get to the next fight on the card, but I got to go with another dog. You got to respect the dogs in PFL, and I mean, you can't sleep on Justin Willis. Sure, Goltsov, excellent kickboxing, but he hasn't fought a guy like Justin Willis, and he is coming off a loss to a fight that was actually supposed to be later on in the night. We'll talk about that after. Let's first talk about these females here, and if you haven't yet, smash that like button. As we said, the goal is 100 likes on this video. Looking for those triple digits with this PFL card. Genah Fabian versus Laura Sanchez, the minus 200 favorite. Fabian versus Laura Sanchez. Looking at the records, I mean, there's a lot of girls with minimal pro experience here in PFL. Sanchez does have an amateur background. Her opponent here, Fabian, does bring in a background in striking. She's actually a pretty decent kickboxer. Her record was 7-2. Recently had a no contest in professional boxing. Does have a lot of power in her straight left hand. She's a southpaw with, I would say, very good and technical striking skill and takedown defense. That's, I would say, solid. I think it's good enough here, especially against Laura Sanchez, who's decent with her striking, definitely brings that rangy style, being 6 feet tall. I will say, though, interesting note, Fabian listed at 5'9" by Tapology. On the tail of the tape at her last PFL fight, it was 6 feet tall. So I'm going to take it as she's 6 feet. Sanchez here, 6 foot as well, 1-0 versus 2-1. I like the idea of Genah Fabian getting a stoppage here, and I think she can get the knockout in the first round. I think she's a favorite for a reason here, and she's a favorite that I do believe will deliver, and I do think by knockout here over Laura Sanchez. No props available. Dang, I was going to say we'll see if there's some props, but as of right now, let's see if those are accurate. Yeah, about minus 200, minus 190. If you can get her up at minus 190, you definitely should. I do think she's a level above Laura Sanchez here. She's a lot more schooled, a lot more high-level mixed martial arts experience, and I think she's going to win this matchup. Mixed martial arts as in also kickboxing. The MMA experience, 2-1, not a ton of fights. Sanchez does have decent amount of amateur experience, but still, I think Fabian is on a different level with the striking skill set here. Now, the next fight of the night, Cindy Dandois and Kaitlin Young. Interesting fights on the card, because now you have 2 females with a ton of pro experience, and I believe they're all going to be in the playoffs, fighting, and you might see an 0-1 fighter coming out here and fighting against someone with 20-plus professional fights. It's definitely strange matchmaking, but Cindy Dandois, 16-5, Kaitlin Young, 11-10. Don't let the records deceive you. Look at the recent opponents: 0-1, 0-1, 0-0, and then 1-2. Then a loss to a 5-1 fighter. So I mean, Cindy Dandois has not been fighting the most high-level girls. You look at her opponent here: win over LaToya Walker, lost to Pam Sorensen, and then Faith Mekha. I mean, fighting girls with at least more than 1 or 2 pro fights. That's definitely something to consider here. 2 inches taller is Kaitlin Young. She's the younger girl by only a year. I don't think the age is really going to be much of a factor in this fight, but there are some things to note stylistically. What I've seen of Dandois, for a girl with as many fights as she has, bad striking. awkward style. Chin is up way too high. I don't like that at all. She likes to enter that pocket, and she can definitely get caught by big punchers. Decent grappling game, though. 8 submission wins, and she really likes that headlock position to set up throws. And when she gets on top, especially side saddle, she can be pretty dangerous. And also does have some finishes by knockout, 5. But her opponent here, Kaitlin Young, aggressive striker with some pretty solid kick boxing abilities, does have some fast hands and pretty nice kicks. I mean, the striking level is substantially different. I feel that Young can fend off Dandois' grappling game, and I do think we can see Young win this fight here as long as she can stay off her back. Don't love the bet on either girl. I mean, you have a girl 16-5 with not the most high-level opposition, and an 11-10-1 fighter in Kaitlin Young. So the bets here are not beautiful for this fight. I lean Young. I would understand a dog bet, but I do think Young is just so much better with the striking. Dandois was almost hard to watch with the striking that I saw in her last fight when I watched tape from that. It was amateuristic, and I didn't like it at all. Young around -135. You can find her at -152 at the most. I don't love the Dandois dog bet by any means, and I think that Kaitlin Young is a very real favorite, and she really should win here unless Dandois is able to get off some type of strange submission. I think that this should be Young's fight in this matchup. Now, featured prelim fight, Ante Delija and Bruno Henrique Cappelozza. It's interesting. This card is men's heavyweights and women's lightweight division. That women's lightweight division is not popular outside of here in the PFL. Let me check out some comments real quick and answer them, and then we'll start talking about this featured prelim. Yeah, I do think Young is a pretty solid bet. Dandois, yeah, just bad striking. Thomas Howard, I think that's a very possible parlay, but I do think Isayev's fight got canceled, which is really unfortunate. Paul Daly versus Julian Lane in BKFC. Book it. I'd love to watch some BKFC. And Etchon14, I will talk at the end of the video about some combination parlays that we can do, and I'll also be releasing a MMA betting video probably tomorrow or Wednesday, and we'll just go through MMA betting this week as a whole. But let's talk about this fight, Ante Delija and Bruno Henrique Cappelozza. If you haven't, smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel too. Looking for those 100 likes. I appreciate everybody tuning in, whether it's replay or on live. Let's talk about this fight in the heavyweight division, because I think this is actually going to be a pretty fun fight. Let's look at their most recent opponents. Jiří Procházka, almost 3 years ago. That was a loss for Bruno Henrique Cappelozza. But look how good Procházka is now. There's no shame in losing to that man. He looks like he may be the future light heavyweight champion in the UFC, and maybe the scariest light heavyweight on the planet right now. Ole Thompson, who's pretty good. Ante Delija's last opponent, that was over a year ago, but since COVID, a lot of fighters, haven't been able to get the fights. Thankfully, they get to make some money here and duke it out on what I do think is a good scrap. Let's first talk about the lesser-known Bruno Henrique Cappelozza here, knockout artist. Every one of his wins is by knockout. He's a Thai-style striker, and he's very aggressive and athletic. But he's fighting Ante Delija, a guy who can kind of do it all. Very good striking as well, does have punching power. I like that he closes the distance with a lot of straight punches, takes advantage of that range, being 6'5" with a 79-inch reach. Has some pretty solid wrestling as well, and is physically very strong. 7 wins by submission, 6 wins by knockout. He's a well-rounded guy. I think that Ante wins this fight. I think he probably gets it to the mat here. I do think he unloads some ground and pound from the top, and I think he can work towards a submission as well. I would say finish inside the distance. I think it's 2 rounds or less for this one, and I think you're going to see Ante win by knockout or submission, but I do think he'll be able to get the best of his opponent on the ground. There's going to be a physical strength advantage for Ante, and I do think he's the superior grappler. As far as striking goes, I could also see Ante winning there as well, but you have to respect a guy who has every one of his wins by knockout. So I got to give him his due props, but Ante, I think, is a level above. I like him as a pick at -500. He's a lock. I think this fight is 2 rounds or less. It could be 1 round. It could be 30 seconds. I think Ante Delija has no doubt winning this fight. He's a lock pick. -500 to +375. Let's see if it's any different. Yeah, it's about that wherever you go that has it available right now. And I don't love -500 as a straight bet, but I think that Ante Delija as a parlay, or later in the week if we prop him up by a finish inside the distance, he could be decent. But definitely parlay lock edition. Put Ante on there. He's not losing to this guy. Now this starts the main card. I'm so excited for this main card, guys. It's actually a pretty stacked card overall for Bellator. I mean, I know it's weird matches, but I just think we're going to have a very fun time watching this card. I just have high expectations for some of the entertainment here. I think that there's going to be some good scraps here. 100% sure in this fight right here. All right, let's talk about this matchup with Larissa, Pacheco, and Julija Pajić. I don't know if it's Julija or Julia. I think it's probably Julia, so we'll just call her Julia. If that's wrong, we'll find out later. Let's talk about Larissa first, because she deserves some due respect here. This girl went the distance with Kayla Harrison 2 times, and Kayla Harrison is a straight killer. Larissa is a pretty decent striker who mixes it up well with the hands and actually has some pretty solid wrestling, good top control, and if you look at her background, 8 wins by submission. She's a finisher on the ground. Her opponent is more of a Thai-style striker, doesn't have high-level experience, is honestly very inexperienced at just 3-0. She's 6 feet tall, which is a factor, and she is a naturally big girl, but you're not going to come out with just 3 pro fights and beat a girl with the skill set that Larissa has. I mean, the experience is vast. She's been on The Ultimate Fighter. I don't believe she made it. She lost to Macy Chigason in the first round. I believe the eventual winner was Macy. Lost to Kayla, and then she's won some fights too. Beat Sarah Kaufman. Lockpick. Larissa Pacheco, I think she gets this fight to the ground. She controls. She gets a submission in the first or second round. Could get a grinding unanimous decision, but I think she could get the finish here, and I think she beats Julija Pajić. The hype on Pajić is definitely going to be there. She's a good-looking girl. She's 6 feet tall. But I don't see her winning this fight against a girl that I have to give the respect to. Went the distance with Kayla Harrison, has a decent skill set. Larissa wins this fight. She's a lock pick at that minus 400 price. We'll see what happens between these girls, but I think it's going to be Pacheco's fight for sure here. But let's get to the next fight of the night. Mohammed Usman and Brandon Sayles. If you guys have not yet, smash that like button. Let me check out a few of these comments here. You'd like to see Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunes. That would definitely be a crazy fight. And yes, sir, we never miss a card here. We're covering everything. Smash that like button, guys. Let's get this video to 100 likes. That is the goal, whether you're watching live or on replay. Hit that like button. Share the video with a friend if they like fighting, if they like betting on fights, if they just like seeing people talk about combat sports. MMA Experts is the place to be. And Mohammed Usman, that name is familiar for a reason. It's Kamaru's brother. Takes on Brandon Sayles, a 40-year-old heavyweight who's been extremely inactive. Let's look. 3 years ago was his last fight. I mean, look at this. He had a break of 5 years. From way back in the day. He lost to Chase Gormley. I don't know if you remember him. He was in Bellator at one point. He might have even been in the UFC at one point. Mohammed Usman came off a win over Terrence Hodges by a unanimous decision. He's a pretty good kickboxer, but he did win that fight by a unanimous decision against a fighter that's 2-6. It's just not a good look on the record. The records don't necessarily tell the tale. Does have some finishes as well. Let's talk about the stylistic matchup between these two and what I've seen for Usman. Let's talk about him first. He's definitely a developing striker. He gets a bit wild at times. Has some decent wrestling, and his control from the top position is actually very good. His ground and pound is solid. I would say he's a raw talent. Doesn't have Kamaru's skill set just yet, but he's got it in his genes. He's well on the way to becoming a solid heavyweight. At 6'1", I do think he may be best suited for light heavyweight down the line. But in this level of matchup, he should be able to do his thing here. With Sayles, you have a decent striker who definitely has an aggressive style, but he's 40 years old. He's also very big, and he's not super active, as I mentioned, and he has a really bad habit of bringing his chin up in the air. 6'5", 79.5-inch reach. What's going to happen here is Mohammed Usman is going to outwork him, get him to the ground, control from the top position. I do think we're looking at a TKO from Mohammed Usman here. I think he gets Brandon Sayles out of there, hopefully before the end of the second round. I really think he can do that. Could be a decision if he has a lackluster performance, but I think realistically a TKO is possible here against a 40-year-old Brandon Sayles. I'm going to ride with Mohammed Usman. I think it's a pretty much lock pick, but he could get caught with something weird. I mean, Sayles definitely does have some pop in the hands, and he has a decent amount of years of doing MMA. Granted, not that many professional fights. And he is 6'5", which is one factor. Can the size play a factor here? Absolutely. I'm not saying fade the pick on Usman. I think he's a good pickup, but gotta give Sayles some credit as far as upset possibility, just simply off the size of the man, 6'5", at 262 pounds. But I don't believe he'll be able to stop Usman when Usman wants to wrestle him. I think Usman gets the win. TKO here, second round, possibly in the first. And it would be unfortunate if it went the distance. We're now at the co-main event. We've already made it there. This is an interesting matchup because it's a stern test, a legit one, most definitely. Let's talk about this fight right here, and then I'll answer some of the questions in the comments. Kayla Harrison versus Mariana Morais. Mariana Morais, excuse me, not Marina Morais. Marina Morais is a UFC fighter. The name is pretty much the same, though. And actually, Mariana Morais has some good experience. Let's just pull up her record real quick because I got to give her some due respect. The girl has fought names: Vanessa Mello, Norma Dumont, Vanessa Porto, Ariane Lipsky, Caral Rosa. I mean, you look down, Roxanne Modafferi, Jennifer Maia earlier in her career. I mean, this girl has fought some legit Brazilian, Diana Silva, legit Brazilian girls that have some decent skills. Kayla Harrison, on the other hand, 8-0, has been a straight killer, killing everyone in her way. The only girl ever going the distance so far has been Larissa Pacheco, and she went the distance twice with her. And, I mean, it's not like Kayla Harrison didn't have her way. She absolutely did. Harrison is excellent with her judo, very vicious when on top. I mean, this girl is scary. She's a southpaw who likes to switch the stances. The striking has improved a lot. She's actually a pretty solid striker at this point. She likes to throw those overhands. Her movement is very good. As I mentioned, the judo is excellent. Her throws and trips from the clinch are going to be top notch. And she's ferocious. She'll unload ground and pound, and it's mean and it's vicious, and she beats the hell out of the girls that she fights. With Morais, Thai-style striker with some aggressiveness for sure. She'll unload massive punches and is willing to get into a firefight at times. Only lost by KO once. Does have 4 submission losses. Statistically, and how I see this fight playing out, I mean, Harrison, taller, 5'8", the naturally bigger girl than Mariana, or however you say your name. All I'm saying is this: Kayla Harrison is going to work Morais in this fight. Submission victory, I think probably in the second round. I could see a unanimous decision because Morais is pretty gritty and durable. But still, I feel like Harrison could get the submission. I also could see her getting the TKO. I think she'll get on top at some point and unload some ferocious ground and pound. I don't think this is the night of big upset for Morais over Kayla Harrison. Harrison's just a huge favorite at minus 1,200. Let me double check if they've changed. Wow, minus 2,000. These odds are going to be crazy for this fight. Kayla Harrison's a lock. She's a parlay pick. But I don't know if you're going to put 1,200 down to make your $100 back. But before we get to this main event, I'm quickly going to hit up the live chat and see what you guys are talking about here. Are you talking about Kamaru's brother? Yeah, Usman definitely taught his brother some solid skills. Absolutely. Usman should drop the 30 pounds, Thomas. I think that's her best bet to victory. Hopefully this is not an Agapova-Shayna Dobson moment in the co-main event. The fight's going to be wild. I think this girl, though, is game. She scraps, but she's going to get beat up in there. There's going to be a level difference in the clinch. But let's talk about this main event because there's some serious factors to note about this man named Renan Ferreira. 6'10" with an 83.5-inch reach. He's actually pretty good. I was looking at this guy striking. I gotta say, very good Muay Thai. He sets his shots up very well. He has very nasty low kicks. Straights from range with the hands. Very good. And he's super athletic and fast for a guy 6'10". 5 wins by knockout. And his 1 loss by submission on the record as well. With Werdum, very good Muay Thai skills in his own right, but definitely different here. And I don't know if he'll want to sit and trade with a guy who's 6'10" with the superb reach that he has. Submission master, one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, especially with his jiu-jitsu. 12 wins by submission for Fabrício Werdum. If you go to the ground with him, you are in a lot of trouble. If I'm Renan Ferreira, I am trying to stay on my feet as if it's life and death. Because as soon as this fight touches the floor, it's Fabricio's world. The flow state that he got into against Gustafsson in the first round submission there was ultra impressive. I think that Renan Ferreira is a difficult fight. He's not a guy to sleep on. But I think Fabrício eventually gets the fight to the ground and gets the submission at 43-31. I don't want to say Fabrício is one of the biggest locks of the week because simply the age does scare me, and tall heavyweight Alexander Volkov was able to bust him up a bit from the outside. And then Ferreira could do that same thing. It's unlikely that Ferreira does, but I don't think you can necessarily sleep on Renan here. I think he's a live underdog, but I'm still picking Werdum. You have to pick Werdum. You can't pick against Werdum. To do so would be kind of insane, but if you want to throw maybe a knockout prop bet on Renan Ferreira when that unloads, if the money's right, I would do so. I'd sprinkle it just a bit. But I do think Werdum by submission in the first round is very likely, maybe even the second. But if Renan Ferreira can stop the takedowns, if he can strike from the outside, Werdum could be in serious trouble. We're going to find out how good he is when we see him in person, but I do think Renan Ferreira is actually pretty good. I think Werdum by submission is a good bet, Mystic Sosa, to answer you in there. I think that it should happen. It really should. Don't fade it. I think there's a high possibility that does happen, but I just have to acknowledge we have a live dog in a guy that can really strike. But can he grapple at the level of Werdum? Absolutely not. And if they hit the floor, we know it's one-way traffic. If you guys haven't yet, smash the like button. We're looking for that 100 likes, whether you're watching live or you're watching on replay. Smash the likes and subscribe. We're going to talk a bit more about parlays and betting here for this fight. Let's pull up best fight odds. Fabrício Werdum, Renan Ferreira, Denis Goltsov, Justin Willis. I mean, the card overall, very good. I think there's a lot of opportunities to make some money here, guys. I think that this is a card for some fun props that could deliver. Or rather, fun parlays, definitely some props as well that can deliver for us. So I'd say Mohammed Usman, you got to put him down on a parlay. I think it's unlikely that you see a 40-year-old Brandon Sayles beat him. Kayla Harrison, if you want to put her down, it's not going to give you all that much more, but it's still something. So for now, we will put her down. Let's continue to look through these fighters here. The Aliasea fight is off. I was so disappointed that fight was off because I was super pumped to see it. Ante, Delija is a lock. If you're looking for like super safe, Harrison, Delija, Usman, lock. It's going to go down this way. That's very safe picks for the fight there. Larissa, Pacheco versus Julija. Do I want to throw down on that one? Maybe. Looking at plus 104 if you did so. I think there's definitely high likelihood for the fight going her way. Cindy Dandois versus Kaitlin Young. I think they could be wider spread odds, but it's only plus 255, and you're taking some risk though. I mean, you got Usman, Harrison, Delija, Pacheco, Young. Safer, high possibility, 5-fight parlay here with Usman, Harrison, Delija, Pacheco, and Young. But we're going to reset it, and we're going to talk about some more moderate risk because I do want to, go for our risk takers out there that want to really make some big dinero and have the desire to do so. Justin Willis, I'm telling you guys, he's coming through as a dog. He's going to come through as a dog. Helena Kolesnyk, I do think wins the fight. That brings you to plus 478. If you're looking for a double dog parlay, throw this one down. But we're going to take her off for now and just talk about some more safe ones. Usman and him is now plus 267. I think that's excellent. If you want to add Ante, you get it to plus 340. I think that's pretty good as well. Who else do I want to add to this one here? Do you want to throw down Pacheco? Man, there are some wide favorites on here, but there's definitely some dogs that are going to come through for us. Plus 435 for this one here. Willis, Usman, Delija, Pacheco. I think high possibility if you want to throw Harrison on there, because Harrison at this point is like a Valentina Shevchenko on the betting lines. I don't think anybody necessarily is going to have much of a chance of beating her right now. She looks excellent, and I don't think she's going to lose to her opponent here. But let me check the live chat and see what you guys are saying in here. You got Justin Willis as a dog, Fabian, Delija, Larissa, Usman, and Werdum. I think that's a good parlay. And you know what? Thomas Howard brings something to note in the live chat. He's no longer under USADA, this being Fabrício Werdum. And Werdum, if he has whatever he wants to play with, if you know what I'm saying, he's going to be deadly out there. And that is definitely something to take into consideration for Werdum. I'm gonna note Thomas Howard on that one. He is right. So if we're feeling more confidence in Werdum, honestly, thinking of that, that does give me a bit more. We could put Werdum, Willis. We could put Larissa and Usman for plus 517. I love this 4-fight parlay, and I think we got high possibility of hitting. If you want to be a little bit wild, throw that dog in there. Put Helena Kolesnyk at plus 1,195. You can't really go wrong if you throw a little something down on that. A 5-fight parlay with absolute possibility of delivering here. I think it's going to deliver for us, guys. I'll be 100% honest. I think that the picks are very strong this week. And there's definitely some serious money to be made. I'm quickly going through my notes I have to decide if there's any other fighters that I feel I want to add to the lineup. You know what? I think adding Kaitlin Young is going to be another lock for us. Let me see if I can find her here. There we go. Plus 2,155 if we have Young, Kolesnyk, Usman, Pacheco, Willis, and Werdum. As long as our boy Willis comes through, I think he's going to be a lot of people's concern, but I think he's going to beat Goltsov, guys. I think so. I really think he's got the tools to do it. You look at his game. He's got the skills. Plus 2,155. We'll play with a little more parlays because, honestly, I always just have fun seeing what's available. We're going to go from bottom all the way to the top, and we'll throw down on some of our picks here. Now, Fabian, do we want to put it on her? I have it written down here if I want to throw down on her. Let's see. Yeah. I'm going to definitely throw on Fabian. I don't know why I even second guessed that. Fabian is another one, I think, that underrated value at minus 200 at this point. Ante and Fabian, minus 125. Get yourself rich off this one, guys. Come on. These are locks. These are locks. They're just fights that we know the way that they're kind of going to go. With Kaitlin Young, another one. I think she's going to dominate. I don't think there's much of a chance for Dandois, and the odds are close. I think that Kayla Harrison, you can put in there, but, I mean, minus 2,000. If you're at a limited amount of parlays you can play, you're probably not going to throw her in there. And let's also put our boy Justin Willis in. So we got Delija, Fabian, Young, Usman, and Willis for the plus 1,000. And if you're feeling wild, you also throw Helena Kolesnyk, and you throw Fabrício for some big money. If you're going to be able to do this on your betting site, Werdum, Kolesnyk, Willis, Usman, Young, Fabian, Delija, I'm telling you guys, there is some serious money to be made on this card. And I'm going to do a full betting breakdown of the MMA betting this week. Probably going to hit that either tomorrow or Wednesday. I'll do it live if you guys are interested, and we can talk about the full betting perspective for MMA this entire week. We'll do some cross bets. I got some cool ideas for the channel. Probably going to bring in some boxing stuff tomorrow as well. I do want to cover that Billy Joe Saunders Canelo Alvarez fight. For Thomas Howard, I definitely think that you are locking it in. And in Michael Key, I'll quickly just look at the PFL, UFC, and Bellator combined parlay that we could potentially play, but that'll be another video that we really go deep on there because there's only so much time here that we can hit it with. But if you're looking for like absolute locks, or if you're looking to more play dogs, but I am gonna probably do a double trouble on each one. I'm gonna pick 2 fighters from each organization to be on my parlay. I'm gonna go Fabian here. I think I'm going to throw Usman at the minus 100. It's like more safe stuff. I will say some of these Bellator bets have some possibility for some upsets. There's definitely not some absolute locks, but I do think a lock is definitely Michael Venom Page. Definitely think Johnny Eblen is another lock. Plus 247 now. And I'm going to also add in a little UFC action. Marina Rodriguez, I really like her in the main event. And let's see what else we can do here. Some other solid pickups. A lot of people shitting on Gillespie, but I think Gillespie's going to go to work. Plus 726. We got Fabian and Usman from the PFL, Page and Eblen from Bellator, and Marina Rodriguez and Gregor Gillespie from the UFC. Plus 726. But that is going to be our quick look at that betting. That's a whole different video. We're going to go through and talk about betting on each of the cards. Honestly, I'm going to actually probably post that up tomorrow because I do think I want you guys to be able to get that money in soon so we can cash big this week on the MMA events. We've been cashing good for the past few weeks. We're going to keep cashing. You guys know how it is here at MMA Experts. We put in the work. We cover the events to the best of our ability. Overall, Super fun card. A lot of money opportunities if you're here for the betting. If you're just here to hear about the fights, you know there's going to be a lot of fun fights on the card. Before I sign off, I am going to answer some comments if we have any. Any questions you guys got for me, absolutely will answer here in the comments. I appreciate all of you guys for tuning into this one. Martial arts fan, I'm seconding with you. I love Tefan Nchukwi. He's going to get it done. I think he can deal with the wrestling of Jung Young Park here. But guys, smash that like button. The goal of this video, 100 likes. We're coming at you with all things MMA. We got PFL released now. Got our Bellator video up already. If you're looking for UFC predictions, that's up as well. After I finish this live stream, I'll probably link them all inside of the description. So if you're watching on replay, you can go back to back to back. If you're new to the channel, smash the like button and subscribe too. You want to keep it locked in here at MMA Experts. We're covering all the fights. We're giving you guys the best betting possibilities out there. Super fun cards coming up. I appreciate everybody tuning in live. I appreciate all of you tuning in on replay. 100 likes is the goal for this video. I know we're going to smash it. You guys won't let me down. Love you guys. Thank you all for the continued support. Some epic fights this week. I cannot wait to talk to you guys tomorrow. We'll be talking MMA bets. We'll be talking boxing. We got a lot of things to cover this week. Smash the like button and subscribe here at MMA Experts. If you're looking for me on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, check me out there as well. And I will see you all next one.